A shoe company rebranded to AI and its stock went up by 600%. Meanwhile, a third party AI tool got hacked and the attacker was able to walk straight into Vercel's internal systems. One of those stories is funny, the other one is actually horrifying, and we're going to cover both.
Welcome to Human in the Loop. It's a weekly podcast where two builders go through this noise of AI hype and we talk about what actually matters. I'm Oscar Gallo. I'm an AI engineer and entrepreneur. I live in the intersection between engineering and businesses.
And I'm Matt Wozniak. I'm a serial builder and a relentless executor. I come from the lens of execution and I focus mainly on what works, what doesn't. Let's get into it. So the biggest news as of right now, it just dropped over the weekend. Vercel was breached by a third-party AI tool. What happened is on April 19th, 2026, Vercel, the company behind Next.js and one of the most widely used deployment platforms in the JavaScript ecosystem, disclosed that they had a security breach. I got the email. I'm sure Oscar got the email. I'm sure millions of other people got the email. So basically, attackers compromised context.ai, which is a third-party AI tool used by a Vercel employee. That gave them access to the employee's Google Workspace account, which gave them access to Vercel's internal systems. A threat actor claiming to be shiny hunters posted on a hacking forum offering to sell the stolen Vercel data for $2 million. Public claims describe employee accounts, source code, database data, GitHub tokens, and NPM tokens. Vercel says only a listed subset of customers had credentials compromised, but the full scope is still under investigation. The JavaScript ecosystem is on alert. If GitHub or NPM tokens were exposed and used, this could be a supply chain event affecting far more than Vercel's direct customers. Crypto and Web3 projects that host wallet interfaces on Vercel are already rotating their credentials, and you probably should be too.
Yeah, we spent literally a few hours before the podcast fixing our stuff in this case too, because we use Vercel. And most people use Vercel. Come on, this is like a very common thing. But I feel like here the headlines actually like the attack vector, how they attack these. As usual, the humans are the part that is easier to compromise every single time, right? So it was from that side. To be fair, we are so intricate connected through a lot of the tools that we use all the time that it's just easier to do it, right? Like in this case of Context AI, I there's a lot of businesses using Context AI. I'm sure Vercel is not the only one affected by this. I'm sure. But Vercel is the biggest one. So of course we're seeing this news everywhere, right? But I'm sure there's smaller businesses that had the same issue. For sure. And the funny thing is like Context AI wasn't like some type of like sketchy plugin, like it's literally an enterprise product. And that's the point, right? Like we need to be very careful, even if it's an actual enterprise product. That doesn't mean it cannot get completely hacked. It's like this tool for supposedly for security, so you don't get hacked, and it got hacked, and then all these airports, starting failing, and so many things happen, right? Like this is how it is. The reality is like we need to take into consideration and basic things like rotating our keys. It is important. I'm not going to say that is super fun to do so. It's super annoying actually. It's super boring. Again, the time we spent this morning doing that, we are not going to recover that time ever. It's but you need to do it. There's no way around it.
We'll sleep better at night though.
Yeah.
So, this is something that I think is actually kind of funny, right? Because the hackers got access to the employees' stuff through their Google Workspace account, right? And this is something I've done for years, ever since Google logins have been a thing. Even when I used to play like mobile apps and stupid stuff like that, you go to log in and it gives you this big long checklist. We want access to your photos, your videos, your microphone, your this, your that, your firstborn
Your
child.
life.
Yeah. And I'm one of the few people that goes through and says, nope, 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 nope. And then if I try to log in and it says, oh, no, we need access to this, and I don't personally see a valid reason for it, I just don't download it. I don't give it access. I don't want to use it at all. And this is the exact reason why. This it's a bigger attack surface. The more access that you give these apps. So my my thoughts on this is 100% signal. You should be paying attention to this, especially if you have products deployed on Vercel, which a lot of people do, especially vibe coders. Definitely go and rotate your keys. And if you don't know how to do it, contact us. We'll help you figure it out.
Yeah.
We got no problem helping you. But yeah, if it's going to be a supply chain risk, then that's just another factor to the current supply chain problems that exist in the world. So not necessarily required. But yeah, the shiny hunters, they're the ones that were behind the what was it? The ticket master thing, right? They were
Hmm.
like just in the news again recently. So it makes me wonder, they go from Ticketmaster, now they're on Vercel, like what's next? Is it Railway? Is it Netscape? Like what is it? Is it they're gonna hack our Wi-Fi routers and start mapping out our rooms or what? Because like it's obviously not the end. It's not the first time I've heard of them. It's not going to be the last time that we're going to hear from them.
I,
So
I
I
he-
consider this signal.
yeah, 100% agree. That is, you need to pay attention to this. Please go and rotate your keys. Do whatever you need to do. This is really important. There's nothing more important this day. Well, maybe listen to this podcast and then do that, okay? But
Yeah.
but you should completely pay attention to that. It's one of those things that it needs to happen.
So if there's one takeaway you take from this story, it's that every AI tool that you plug into your workflow is a door. Just make sure you understand and know who else has the key.
Agree, agree. So let's jump into our second news. So Cloud Opus 4.7 chip, and well, they kind of admit that it's close enough to Mythos. So yeah, Anthropic released Cloud Opus 4.7, and it has 1 million context window, which is pretty nice, and it has this new mod called Extra High of the effort level of thinking, which I find it interesting. I don't think it's that great. I think the high from before now is medium, and now they have this new one that is actually high, right? So yeah, they say that it's like a less risky version of Mythos because they had so many issues with Mythos like going crazy. So, but it's close enough that it's useful for people like us, right? The 1 million context window is actually pretty nice, and to this point, I think even standard for a lot of models, which is pretty nice. I would say that I spent since the drop of 4.7 until today, literally in the morning, using Opus 4.7, and I'm not very happy with the with the result. It feels worse than Opus 4.6. Supposedly the reason is because they realized that Opus 4.6 was actually fixing our prompts silently,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly, and this is, well, more computing in a lot of ways. We already talk about this, but Anthropic has an issue with computing. They don't have enough computing, and this is an issue that has been persisting for some time. It feels worse, and even if you use this Opus 4.7 inside Cloud Code, uh, a lot of the nice tools that Cloud Code has, like interactive options and stuff like that, I haven't seen Opus 4.7 using any of them, like zero. Like it's just going back to plain before, like when Cloud Code was like on the first versions. It's super weird. It's super weird. I don't know if because they haven't integrated these, or maybe it's just not using the tools like they're expecting, but it feels like the whole harness from Cloud Code is worthless. I was able to get a little bit better performance the weekend after I did this, that every time I am asking Opus 4.7 to do anything, I just first prompt, ask me at least 4 questions so I know you understand what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to God, every single time it got wrong. The assumption's wrong. Like, and I needed to explain. But it's true. After explaining, it got the things right. It was able to build what I needed. But it's insane that on default it got it wrong. And I was using that before with Opus 4.6, but way less. and usually Opus 4.6 was getting most things right most of the time. Um, so I find interesting this. I feel like this is probably because it's searching less context in a way to save computing. That's what I imagine. But it gives us a worse experience, and especially for people like us that we pay the full 200 per month unlimited. Like,
Mhm.
we don't care about saving tokens. We want solutions. That's why we're paying the highest tier. We don't want like, oh, I want to save like 10,000 tokens. No, I couldn't care less. If I would care about that, I would pay the 20, $50 per month one. No, but we're paying the 200 one. We want
Mhm.
performance. We want to be able to do what we pay for, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my take there.
Yeah, I think I'm basically in the same boat, right? Like, I think 4.7 is a step back. I've been using it as well since it came out. And I mean, I think your computing theory has a lot of potential. If they were subconsciously or unknowingly causing themselves more compute by fixing queries as they're being input, then obviously they would want to cut cost and put more price back on the consumer, right? But in this, at the same time, they're charging the same or more for a inferior product. And if it's the tokens, right? And like you said, right, you don't care about token cost. I don't either. We could use a million tokens as long as I don't have to keep talking back and forth with Claude, which I know costs more tokens. It's not the tokens that I care about. It's, can you get this job done efficiently? Do
Exactly.
you need more guidance from me, or are you gonna cause rework, right? And that's basically what 4.7 has been doing for me. It's been causing a lot of rework. It's I've been having what used to take 5, maybe 10 minutes is now taking 25, 30, 40 minutes because I got to keep going back or stopping in the middle of a workflow because I see it's doing something totally off the wall. I think this is signal in the sense that I wouldn't recommend 4.7. If you can stick with 4.6, I would do it. But it's the same thing with ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT 4, just like we said in the last episode, was great. And then ChatGPT 5 was a huge step back. And I'm concerned that this might be the start of going backwards for Opus. But I think the bigger story here is that we're really seeing Anthropic's go to market strategy and the concept of tiering, right? Because last episode we talked about Mythos and how it was gated behind corporation or what was it, like corp contracts. Basically, they only released
Hmm.
it for their biggest corporation contacts. And now, only 1 week later, they're releasing, hey, we got a new 4.7, but this is the best model you can get now. But it's not our best model, but it's the best one
Hmm.
that you can get. So
Second best model.
yeah, the second best model for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because after this, I was talking with some friends that they do exactly the same as us, and all of us agree. Like, it's really hard to for everybody to agree on one take. Most of us, like, we don't even agree on what tools to use, right? Like, we are like
Mhm.
very like, we have very different takes. Some people are on Cursor, some people are on Cloud Code. Like, we disagree in most things, right? In general, related coding. But this is the first time that I'm seeing everybody that, hey, this sucks. Like, this is bad. So I'll say, from my point of view, this is noise. If you can just skip Opus 4.7, like, there's no good case. On my personal cloud desktop, I went back to Opus 4.6
Mhm.
completely. Like,
Yep.
I do not want to use 4.7. And in Cloud Code, I'm using it with extra effort, extra high. But still, I am tempted to go back to 4.6 because it was working way better. So in my case, I will say noise. If you can, don't pay that much attention. This model feels like it was just like created for the benchmarks, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah, on paper it looks amazing, but let's be real, when you use it, it doesn't feel amazing. It feels very clunky. So yeah, that's my
And
take.
internally for Anthropic, it probably looks great too because they're saying we release this and then we deprecate 4.6. Everybody's got to be on 4.7 at least. It's going to save us X millions of dollars in processing power, and we're going to get X plus Y million dollars worth of extra token spend. So It's
True,
probably great for
true.
their bottom line, but it actually makes me kind of excited for the new GPT that they announced.
That's great. Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I guess the bigger question is shipping a weaker public model the honest move, or is it like a clean way to upsell enterprise access, which I think might be the route that they're going. Our next story is OpenAI's updated Agents SDK. What happened is on April 15th, 2026, OpenAI shipped an updated Agents SDK. Agents can inspect files, run commands, edit code, and handle long horizon tasks inside a sandboxed harness. Python first, TypeScript later. I mean, this is good news for OpenAI, considering everyone's kind of disappointed with Claude right now. It's if they can stand up to the task of what they're offering, with all the open claw stuff, which has kind of lost steam ever since the creator of OpenClaw got picked up, the acquired. Yeah, I think that if this can be GPT's new runtime, if they can make it the default for teams that pick this up, then they could really get some traction with it. But for the everyday user, especially like, I mean, you've seen the trend, right? Everybody's trying to buy the Mac Minis because they want to automate their emails, they want to automate their calendar, they want to do all that. If you're in that boat, then this would probably be Signal because you're already doing that. But for most people right now, especially vibe coders, they're not really at that level yet. So once they do get to that level, they might pick this up. But I would consider this kind of noise. But yeah, it's just not something that I use heavily.
In my case, I will say that this is the perfect timing for them. And look, probably some people believe that I'm getting paid by Cloud to say nice things about them because I use them daily, right? And they were like, "Oh, you're just a sucker for them." And I have said this a lot of times that OpenAI main problem is that their tool usage is really bad. Like it fails a lot of the time, and it's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. I have come with ways actually to increase the tool usage on my own agents using their API by almost 100%, but it's weird they cannot do the same with their own ones. One of the great things about this is that, well, this is like a way probably to connect a little bit of OpenClaw and other things that they have done with a better agent, and that's great because they really need to increase how they do the tool usage so it's better for everybody. Because again, one thing is the LLM, and a completely different thing is the harness. The harness is
Mm-hmm.
like all the tools and things you build around the model, so it can do way more than just chatting around with you, right? Like all those
Yeah.
cool things, and harnesses are becoming this new primitive to the point that we both had built before harnesses for our own agents, rather programming, project management, stuff like that, right? So I would say this is Signal, but only because Anthropic's not doing a great job right now with with Opus 4.6. So if this can be the
4.7.
moment for OpenAI to shine, this needs to be the moment. Like this is the place and the moment to do it, right? Like OpenAI, please, if you're listening or if you will ever listen, please make this SDK agent like great with tool calls, and we are going to be happy. Believe me. So
You
yeah.
know, I I'm happy you mentioned that because I'm switching it from noise to signal now because I when you were talking just now I had like horrific flashbacks to using ChatGPT and like it's trying to like write it to a document and like it's running for like 5 minutes and I come back I'm like what are you doing? I ask you what are you doing? It's like oh I was trying to write to this document but like the tool call failed or something and then or I come back to like an old chat and I'm like, hey, can we update this thing? And it spends like 5 minutes spinning. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I tried accessing this document, but it's gone. I can't find it. And I was like, what are we doing here, ChatGPT? So I'm going to change it from noise to signal because I do hope that gets better. And I hope that we come back next week saying, hey, Claude's out, OpenAI's in, we're back. We're back to ChatGPT.
That'll be cool. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the news, on the new number 4, well, now we have AI on desktop. It's not only Cloud and ChatGPT and Gemini. Now it has an app But we have Perplexity Personal Computer. Okay. So, long story short, Google released their native Gemini desktop app for macOS, which is great because we use macOS. We are not going to use anything else. And the same week, Perplexity launched a personal computer, which is like an orchestration layer for local files, native applications, and stuff like that on the browser. And it's in the Mac App Store, so you can download that. I feel that personal computer from Perplexity needs to be like a bigger news, and it's not because it can do a lot of things. It's fairly interesting how good like their agent on just on this, because I don't like Perplexity. Okay, I gotta say I don't like Perplexity, but this one is pretty decent. It can do a lot of things on its own. The agent is fairly powerful. Is very optimized for using computer, for using an actual interface, which is amazing because like even Cloud is very slow on that. It can do everything, but it's very slow, right? So this is super cool. I like that they launched this, and you can see like kind of like the moat shrinking between all these businesses, that they are getting closer and closer and closer to each other. They don't have that much distance like before, where just one business was holding all the power. You can see how they're getting just dangerously close to each other. And that's great for us because the more competition, the better for us, because we can jump between tools, right? So I will say this is Signal. Go and check it out, and just tell me if you like it or not, but it's pretty decent.
I'll agree this is Signal. And I also think that it's curious seeing this, especially as like a millennial, right? We've seen the progression of going from nothing to internet to widely used internet, stuff like that. And to me, this is like a very similar replay of the smartphone era, where I remember having a flip phone, and before I had a flip phone, I had a non-flip phone. So going from no flip to smartphone is kind of now like what you're looking at with your operating systems and your laptops, right? And I think it's interesting because if you have a problem with your laptop now, if you ever have to call tech support, the first thing they're going to say is, "Hey, open up your open up your AI and ask it what's wrong, and have it tell me what's going on." So it's going to change a lot for how people use their computers. Even people who don't use their computers very often. If you get a new computer in the next probably 5 years, it's going to come with like a native AI on it. Which how long until they get rid of like the explorer.exe at the bottom? How long until they get rid of the search bar or just make it a complete AI search bar, right? It might already be on a laptop that you're using right now. So,
My, my,
you know,
my, my co-
go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, my conspiracy theory is that eventually we're not going to know that there's actually a computer behind doing these things.
Yeah.
People will just say to the agent, "Hey, do this," and it will happen, but they will have no idea how it happened.
Yeah, which is not necessarily a good thing. But yeah, I would consider this Signal just because it's pretty big news, and it's going to be good for productivity, I think, at least in the short term. We'll see in the long term.
Agree.
Oh, you want to hop to the Allbirds story?
Yeah, that one, it's a little bit crazy. So, yeah, let me explain this one because it's horrible. So, Albers, which is, I don't even know if that's the right way to say that, but they sell sneakers, okay? And for some reason, they decide that it was a great idea to pivot to AI. So, long story short, this struggling shoe company, they announced that, I mean, they sell footwear, okay? This is just shoes, okay? But they announced that they are seeking to acquire graphic cards, literally, like just computing power.
Yeah, me too.
And they want AI compute infrastructure. And their stock jumped more than 500%. That's crazy, okay? And of course, by the next day, it went down 30% again. And I will say this is not only noise, this is a scam, okay? This is not the first time we're seeing this. Well, let me explain. I don't know if you remember this story, but I'm sure you do. Like years ago, when the crypto stuff was like, going crazy, There was this tea brand from the United States that they changed their name to blockchain. Like, I don't know if you remember this news. What happened is that after they changed their name to blockchain, and they say that they were interested in doing blockchain stuff, their stock soared like crazy. Okay, like almost the same numbers as here. But what happened is like the founder, on the first day, he sold most of his stock. Because of course they did, right? So this is again these people who are probably very frustrated because probably this guy has been building this brand for a long time, and he's just not making it. He's not getting the millions that he imagined that he was going to get, and he's seeing AI just with more and more money every day, and they just cannot get a piece of that. They can't. They cannot. They cannot. They cannot. And probably in his frustration, he was like, you know what? We're going to do this. I'm going to get some millions, and I'm going to get my cut, and I don't care anymore, right? I'm not financial advisor, I gotta say, but if you had any stock from them, you sell. This is a complete fake bubble. Whatever they're doing there, it's insane. It's insane. There's not a single good reason behind, because first of all, they don't have developers. They don't have machine learning researchers, nothing, okay?
They
The
don't
whole
even
thing
have
is
graphics
completely
cards.
exactly, and the wording is very important because they didn't say we invested $50 million in computing power, right? They say we are seeking to acquire $50 million, right, of graphic cards from an undisclosed person, right? And it's like, as a business, as a public business, I don't think you can do that. I actually think it's illegal. So everything feels super shady. So this is noise. Skip it. Don't pay attention to them. The less attention we give to this type of people, the better.
I agree. It's got all the earmarks of a rug pull. Just like you mentioned the crypto stuff within the past 5, maybe 10 years now, I can name probably a dozen YouTubers or celebrities that have done crypto rug pulls. And this looks just like the same exact thing to me. And it's also like, you say it's noise, but I also think it's signal for the reason of keep an eye out for stuff like this and don't buy into it when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Noise for your stack, but signal for your BS detector. Because this won't be the first one that we'll see. This isn't the first and won't be the last.
Yeah,
So
I agree. This is, well, yeah, this happened even with Melania. Remember, they make this Melania coin, and then they will pull everything, and it's like,
yeah,
oh my god, it feels like they're trying to do that with AI, and it's sad, and it's sad. It's really sad.
well, there's that Haktua girl, right? The Haktua coin.
Did that happen?
The Yeah, she had a crypto coin,
Oh,
and like within a week, it rug pulled, and she stopped her podcast. Everybody hates her now, and like she's like not even a thing
I
anymore.
I didn't know that. Like,
Yeah, this
holy.
was a while ago. Yeah, she had that Talk to a podcast, and like a few months into it, she hooked up with some crypto company. She promoted some new crypto coin, and it got up and then dropped. She made millions, and I don't know if she made millions. She made a lot, and the people who hosted the coin made millions for sure. And all of her fans got screwed. So keep an eye out for this type of stuff. If some random T-shirt company, shoe company, candy company, anything says they're suddenly pivoting to AI, especially, and pay attention to the wording of what they're saying, right? Like in this case, they said they're interested in it. They're interested in doing this. They're experimenting with whatever. If you're not producing anything, I don't want to hear about it. So that's signal and noise. You want to jump to our new segment?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So our new segment, which is rotating along with our other segments, this one's called No Jargon Required. So in No Jargon Required, we take AI concepts or just technical concepts, and we try to break them down in a way that executive decision makers or non-technical folks could actually explain to someone else. So no jargon, no hype, no it depends on this, depends on that. We just say here's what it is, and here's a good analogy basically. So concept one, context engineering. Imagine you ask a friend to help you bake cookies. If your friend has never been inside your kitchen, doesn't know where the flour is, doesn't even know about your oven, how to turn it on, whatever, and it doesn't know that your family is allergic to peanuts, maybe your kid, they're going to really mess up the task of baking cookies for you. Not because they're dumb, but because they just don't know the environment. They don't know their way around your kitchen, and they don't know this relative information about your family in this instance. In context engineering, an AI model is the friend who's baking you cookies. Context engineering is basically setting up the kitchen in a way that your friend, the model, when they walk into your kitchen, they know where the flour is. You showed them, hey, here's the flour, your documents, for example. You warn them that, hey, the oven, it might say it's at 350 degrees, but it's actually at 420 degrees. And these are basically your business rules. And then you tell them about the peanut allergy, which is things to avoid. We want to avoid this at all costs. It's the same friend, the same kitchen, and the outcome is better cookies. In grown-up terms, you wire your model to your documents, your tools, your past decisions, and the right slice of memory for the job. The brand of the model matters less than the actual context that you're giving it. It matters less than the information that you provide it so that it can make better decisions. The wiring is much more important. So for the decision framework, if this is something that you're deciding, right? If we're saying, do we want to implement an AI into our workflow? So if you're in a position where you're trying to implement an AI into your workflow, it's not going to solve all your problems just by plugging it in. It's going to take a lot of massaging. It's going to take a lot of wiring to what your end goal is. If you're just considering buying a generic workflow, I mean, if you know it'll give you the outcome that you want, it's something simple like we want to track our Jira tickets. We want to consolidate our business meetings and have an output for what we talked about. Then that's something you could probably get out of the box. If it's something that's embedded into your systems and using your actual data that is confidential to your business, that's something you want to build from within. You don't want to buy an out-of-the-box solution for that.
Agree.
What do you
I
think,
will
Oscar?
say that invest if you can. I hired somebody internally for something like that. I'll say that the consultant cannot do this for you. I mean, they can, but it's harder for them because they need to understand how your business works. And that usually takes time. Like this is more important to know how you work than AI related stuff. Okay? Like the reality is like the process needs to be like extremely clear to be able to do like a good job. And in that it's better to have somebody internally that can do the job. If you cannot hire somebody internally, I will say hire somebody from outside, but that specialize on that specific market
Mm-hmm.
because you want that know-how. You want it. You want it because it's going to make way more sense if you get some generalist. He can maybe skip parts that are actually really important for you without realizing. So that's kind of my take there.
Yeah. And, you know, we've actually taken clients from 0 to 1 with implementing AI agents into their workflows, and a lot of the times they're they're asking for something really grand when in reality they just need something very simple that can go from A to B and do it automatically. A lot of times, I mean, not a lot of times, but sometimes it doesn't even require AI. It can just be a very efficient pipeline, right? But other times they are very complex, and to your point, they're not done quickly if you want them done correctly.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree. Okay, let's go. Let's jump into concept number two, which is going to be agentic AI. And I'm sure you have seen this all around the internet, and especially me because I pride myself as as an expert in agentic AI, okay? But just for context, I have built at least a dozen agents so far, so I kind of know a little bit about it. So if we need to explain in plain English what is this, so imagine you ask your kid to clean the room, okay? I know it's a weird comparison, but just stay with me, right? A regular AI is like the kid who needs you to say, pick up the sock. Now pick up the book. Now pick up the book. Now put the book on the shelf. It's like one tiny instruction at a time, and it can be exhausting for a lot of people, okay? An agent is like the kid who hears like, clean your room, and it kind of figure out along the way. They will make decisions. They decide what to grab first, where it goes, when they are done, and if they get stuck, they will come back to you and it's like, hey dad, what should I do with this? I don't know. Maybe they have the dog there in the bedroom. What I should do with the dog? I cannot move it. I need to clean. And if they finish, the room is clean, right? So in grown-up terms, because maybe this is too not the greatest analogy, you give the AI an outcome instead of a step, okay? You don't say how, you say just the goal, okay? So it picks the tools, runs the steps, checks its own work, or you have a secondary agent checking the work, okay? And it just keeps going until the goal is met or it hits a wall that it cannot keep working on it, okay? Think this way, maybe like a junior employee who can draft emails, fill some forms, pull spreadsheets, right? File tickets without you hovering around all the time, right? They still need a job description, okay? They need the right tools and everything. And you need to supervise, because you need to catch the mistakes, right? So I will say, on the decision framework, if you want to invest on agentic AI, okay? I will say that invest now if you have a respectable job with clear inputs and outputs, okay? And clear ways of things that can go right and wrong, both of them, okay? Agents love those things. They eat those for breakfast, okay? Like, that's great, you will need to wait if your work is ambiguous, political, or change every week, right? Automating a mess just give you a faster mess, not a better result, right? You need to be very smart about it. If you're like, for example, like a startup, a lot of times startup is just figuring out their process. Of course, trying to put agents on a process that is not yet fully written down with step by step everything, don't do it, right? Like there's no point, I'll say that on the decision framework, build internally if the data and tools are yours and the work is the core of your business, right? You need to see what the agent is actually doing all the time, okay? I'll say that in that same decision framework, buy for commodity jobs like inbox triage, like meeting notes, basic research. No, every off the shelf is fine, really. You don't need nothing too complicated. Like there's thousands of AI note takers. Most of them are perfectly fine, The triage for your inbox, when you receive the emails, it's the same thing. I think even Gemini now has something like that to do it for you. So it's more than enough. Believe me, like you don't need to build this. And I will actually say, do not try to build this, okay? There are way too many. There's no point for you to invest money on something like this. It will be completely useless, okay? Just to clarify. And well, I will say that in that same decision framework, ignore, what we call agent washing in a lot of ways. It's like most agents products are the chatbot from last year with just like a new sticker. actually doesn't do anything at all. I'm going to give you an example, okay? My wife called today the hospital, a clinic where we're going to go, and they have an agent, like replying to the calls. It's horrible. Like it's horrible. It's really bad. It failed on all the tool calls, and it actually didn't give like the time available or anything really. It got like stuck, sadly. Um, but why? Because what they try to do is just use the same chat that they had in their website and just connect some voice to it, and they will call it an agent, and that's what they did. Like, so I will say that there's a lot of businesses right now that they are desperately just agent washing all their chatbots that they built before, and they do not understand the difference because the reality is like there's a lot of people selling absolute crap out there. It's most of them. It's most of them. It's just not one or two. It's most of them. The reality is like they don't have hands-on experience of building the product, working with the product, using their own product. Sadly, so yeah. Again, just to recap, invest on well-defined back office work. Skip most consumer agents for now. The quality bar is still too high for anything customer facing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that was well explained. And to your point, right? The clinic with the agentic AI answering machine. We should build an agent whose sole goal is to get a human on the phone when you call these places. Like that's all it does. You give it a phone number, you say I want to talk to a human, and it handles everything, and then it sends you a notification or calls you when there's a human ready to talk. That would be a good product. But yeah, when it comes to agentic AI, I think what you said was great. The decision framework makes total sense to me. But just to highlight, anything that's directly related to your profit or potential loss, you don't want to buy an out of the box solution. You want to build that yourself in house. And something that could be potentially out of the box, like you said, inbox triage, meeting notes, basic research, stuff like that. That could be a good opportunity for somebody at your company, right? Like an engineer at your company, give them a task like this. Say, hey, we need something like this internally. That could be a way for them to flex that muscle, get used to using agentic AI to build something like this, and then they could potentially become your engineer who's going to help you build that P&L attached workflow. So just something to think about.
That's a good point.
The
That's a good
next,
point.
yeah, always. I mean, hiring and promoting from within, I think, is always a good strategy because they have the knowledge of your company. They know the in and out of your company after a certain amount of time. You would think, right? So it would just make sense.
Yeah.
Concept number 3 for this episode is model tiers, which is relevant because of Anthropic's go-to-market strategy right now. So imagine you're in a toy store, and in the front window, they've got the newest, coolest toy anyone can walk in and buy. They got the Red Rider, the thing with the compass and the stock and the thing that tells time. But when you go into the store, there's a back room where they have secret toys on the shelf. Only the very best customers get to see this back room. It's the same store, different shelves. The back room usually has the better stuff than what they're showing in the front window. So top AI labs work the same way, just like in the story we discussed with Anthropic. They sell a public model, the best one they're willing to let anyone pay for, or the second best model in this case. And they keep the gated model hidden or behind some type of paywall. Usually better, usually only available to a short list of people, governments, big enterprises, research groups, stuff like that. Something that everyday man can't really get access to. And that's not on accident. That's purposefully done. So when somebody asks right now, hey, what's the best AI model? The honest answer is it depends which shelf you're allowed to see. So the decision framework for this is you want to invest in the public tier just because it's the best AI that you can actually buy at the current time. And you don't really plan on building your own. You can wait on the gated tier unless you qualify. If you do qualify, then you probably already have access to it, but chances are you're not going to reach that gated tier until there's a new gated tier. So you'll still only be on the second best model. If you want to build it if what you're working on is sensitive, and you don't want public tier agents to have access to what you're working on. So you would want to build some type of internal model so you protect your data. You would want to buy a public tier direct from the vendor for reliability and support. Aggregators are fine for prototyping, but not production. And you would want to ignore it if the vendor marketing kind of blurs the lines between the two tiers. If you can't tell there's any real difference between them, or if the model that they're selling you isn't the model that their own researchers use. So build around the end of the story for model tiers is you build around the public tiers limits. The best AI out there isn't really going to stop you from shipping. It might just help you ship a little faster. So again, execution, execution, execution. You just keep building regardless of what tool you got.
I agree. And this is not only Anthropic doing this. Actually, Google is doing the same. Remember that they have on DeepMind a lot of these models that we cannot access. That is only for specific researchers or institutes, stuff like that, So that can easily happen. But at the same time, about the ignore on the decision framework, that happened with Google too. Because if I remember correctly, Gemini 2.5 Flash or Fast, I think, is actually better at coding than Gemini 3. Which makes absolutely no sense, okay? Because you all think, it's one number higher. It's 2.5 to 3. So the 3 should be better. And everybody expected that, actually. It was very interesting. And to be fair, 2.5 Fast came later than 3. But it's a way smaller, faster model. The best theory is that when they made it smaller, they remove useless stuff that wasn't that great. And it performed really well in specific situations. That's why, So yeah, about the build in the decision framework, I will say, if that's your case, get a smaller model, okay, like an open source one, and fine tune that to that. Like fine tune the most you can with the data you can, create your data, and just make it great for that specific case. It will suck for everything else, okay? It will suck for everything else. But this is this is not what we're looking for here. What we are looking is like to be great at that specific job that you want, okay? Because that affects your process, that affects your business. So we don't want an agent that is great in the general, on everything, and then it will be really bad for your specific case. We want that fine tune. That fine tuning it's very, very important. So yeah, well, let's go with concept number 4, which is the model sizes. Okay, so let's explain this. Okay, so picture like a restaurant kitchen. Okay, there are 3 cooks. Okay, and all of them, they work in the same restaurant. Okay, so the line cook is like fast. Okay, it's cheap to hire. They can crank out like 100 burgers and fries a night. They never break a sweat. They just go, and they don't ask them for anything complex like a tasting menu. That's not their job. Okay. Then we have the sauce chef, right? It handles most of the real menu. Okay, it's solid quality, good speed. The bill is reasonable. Okay, this is who's cooking your dinner most of the nights, right? And then you have the head chef, right? The head chef takes their time. Okay, costs way more. Okay, but this is the plate that you brag about to your friends or you post pictures on Instagram. Okay, like you don't want them making your fries. So every major AI lab, they ship these 3 cooks. Okay, at Anthropic they are called Haiku, which is the lowest one, Sonnet, and Opus. Okay, OpenAI and Google ship small, medium, large versions too. Different names, but it's the same idea actually. And the trick is very simple, okay? Stop asking the head chef to make fries, okay? And stop asking the line cook to play the tasting menu, okay? And these make a lot of sense. And there's actually one lab. I don't know if we can call them a lab because they don't have a model, okay? But it's a business. It's a business from San Francisco, and they make the case for this before, and people didn't believe them, okay? So what they did is like they created pretty much like a harness on top of these agents, okay? And they ended up scoring better than Opus. And that's crazy because you will think like, how is it possible if you use, I mean, they use Opus, okay? And they use OpenAI and they use Gemini, okay? You will think, but that's impossible. If Opus is better, how they scored more with smaller models? And that's the thing, is decision making, okay? Like they put smaller models on specific easy things and then bigger models automatically on more complex situations. And in the end, the performance was way better and they were able to top the charts. So that was very interesting. So on the decision framework, I would say use the small models for simple high volume work, like classifying emails, tagging content, quick lookups, fast and cheap. We use small models inside our products, like in Here I Am for client related data to get it. It's a very small model that we have there, and it's super fast and it feels super nice, So use a medium model, the self-chef, for most of the real work, like drafting, summarizing, answering question that needs like real reasoning. This is your default for most of the task, okay? And then use a large model or the head chef for hard problems, okay? For complex reasoning, tricky code, high stakes outputs, where mistakes are very expensive. Think it that way. This is slower, this is going to be pricier, but it's going to be worth it, okay? And I will say that in this decision framework, you should probably mix them, okay? Just like I said before, like the best startup, they rotate or they have routes, to easy work with all of them, right? They are interconnected. And in that way, you will cut your cost, but at the same time, you'll probably get better result, like I said before. In the same, this decision framework, I will say just ignore anyone telling you, just always use the biggest model. That's not the case. That's lazy, it's expensive, and they are probably talking with no experience on how this is supposed to work. And this is why we are here. This is why we are making this podcast. Because there's a lot of those people who will tell you, oh, just use the biggest one. Just use the biggest one. Okay, and we use the biggest one too. Don't get me wrong, okay? Like when inside the same product, Here I Am, we use some of the biggest model for specific tasks, okay? When we want like complex animations, when we want a lot of those things, we default to the biggest one. But again, we're talking about complex behaviors here, okay? But we're not going to use the most expensive model for something basic, okay? Like it doesn't make any sense, of course. So yeah, So that's kind of my take, default to the medium model most of the time. Drop the small one for anything at scale that needs to be fast, and reach for the big one only when the medium is not enough.
Yeah. And if you are new to using AI, you're not very comfortable using it, you can always ask whatever model you're using, hey, which model tier or size would be best for this type of task? And I'm sure it would probably suggest what one you should use. So I think that's a great analogy. That's a great way to break it down in a non-technical way. Great job.
Hell yeah.
Should we, do you want to hop into our closing, our unpopular take section?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see.
Okay.
I love this section the most, because I feel like this is how this is where people get angry.
Yeah, which is a good thing. So I'll go first this time.
Hmm.
My unpopular opinion is that every executive is asking, what's our agentic AI strategy? But, when it comes down to it, agentic AI strategy is an answer in search of a problem. If your team's already shipping a great product and they're not using AI, they're not using agentic AI strategy, what outcome are you hoping implementing an agentic AI strategy would actually have, right? So if you don't have a specific goal in mind, you're wasting cycles, you're wasting money, and you're just throwing money at a problem that doesn't even potentially exist. So that's that's kind of that's kind of my unpopular take. If you're sitting in a boardroom saying we need an agentic AI strategy, but you don't know where you want to end up, have good luck, I guess.
100% agree. Funny enough, Enrique told me about this person that works in insurance. And funny enough, I was thinking about it because we talk about insurance on the first episode, right?
Hmm.
And the goal was like, you need to use agentic AI. And it's like, that's not a goal. Like, that was literally my first, like, that's not a goal. A goal is like, oh, I don't know, being able to process 20% more insurance compliances, right? Like, I don't know, something
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
like the goal is it needs to be something related to the business, not to the AI. Like they're
Exactly.
doing it completely wrong. So I agree with you on that one.
I've had some of my friends who are in the field reach out to me and say, "Hey, well, like, the past 6 months there's been this huge push. We want to be AI first. We got these metrics. We have to use AI every day. They're tracking it. They're seeing how many tokens we each use, and if we don't use enough tokens, we're not using AI every day. We get in trouble." And I'm like, "So what? Like, what do they want to happen? Like 6 months from now?" They're like, "I don't know. There's a huge push. We have to use AI every day, or else we get a message." And I'm like, "Well, if like I'm assuming if the whole company is like using Claude or GPT or whatever, they're probably doing API billing, which means if they have all their engineers using it all day every day, they're racking up 100,000+ a month. And my question is like, that's great if that's what you want to happen, but at what point are you expecting to get a return on your investment for that, right? If the goal is just we're coding super fast, everybody's using AI, and like we're shipping, we're shipping, we're shipping. We're doing in 2 weeks what we're doing in 2 days what we used to do in 2 weeks. It's like great. How are you making more money though? Right. It's
Yeah, the
that's
question is, are you making more money?
Yeah. Are you even making more money? That's the question that should be being asked, because otherwise a lot of people might be put at risk. Like once the bills start piling up and they say, "Hey, why are we doing this?" Actually, it's like, yeah. So we'll see.
One,
Yeah, AI, agentic AI implementation is an answer in search of a problem. That's my unpopular take.
100% agree. Well, my popular opinion is that context engineering isn't really a new skill. They are just trying to make this like mystic idea of using concepts, right, to make it more obscure. It's literally just writing good internal documentation, okay? Just rebranded on the AI era of things, okay? This is mostly so consultants can charge money for it. Okay, don't get me wrong, we offer consultancy too, okay? Uh, but we try to be transparent about the things that we do, right? So the companies winning in 2026 had a clean internal data since 2022 or even before, okay? The ones losing are paying a vendor to turn their mess into a context, right? And a lot of the times, the context is not correct neither
Hmm.
after paying somebody else to fix that, I'll say. So, like a lot of the ideas that we explain here in the jargon, these are not they are not new things, okay? This is just words around the AI era. That's exactly what they are. Okay, like in this case, context engineering is just good documentation, good processes. Okay, and just give this data to the agent. That's what it is. In reality, it's nothing more complicated than that. And some people will try to create this mystic idea, about it. It's not. Okay, it's not. And this is why it's important for us to understand this type of concept in a non-technical way. And I know that a lot of the times engineers other people, they are really square and they cannot explain these things to us, right? Decision makers, to everybody, to anybody really outside the engineering team. So this is why we're here explaining this type of things. So yeah, well, I think that's it.
Well, I just on that note, I think context engineering, like you said, it's not new, and it is a skill, but it's not a new skill. I think it's a flashy new term for something old, which, in the tech world, we've seen it a lot, right? Like you remember when big data was a thing, right? All big
Mm-hmm.
data is a database that's huge and mangled, in my opinion.
Sometimes even an Excel file, literally.
Yeah, sometimes it's just an Excel file with 70,000 rows.
Mm-hmm.
Good thought leadership, right? It's just having an opinion in on LinkedIn, I guess. Now, it's like thought leadership. Quiet quitting is just doing your job as expected, not going above and beyond. Synergy is teamwork. It's this isn't new. There's always at some point there's going to be a new term for context engineering. Even
Mm-hmm.
prompt engineering is just you write very clear instructions. Good job. You're a good prompt engineer. So, yeah,
I feel exactly the same because a lot of the times, like this is exactly the same thing, just applied to AI.
mhm,
Versus things that actually change. For example, a product manager 10 years ago, it's nothing related to a product owner of today, for
mhm,
example. Like back then, product managers used to be like these MBA kids, really,
yeah,
like, and that was like, then it changed a little bit later to kind of like designers who can code a little bit, and those were like kind of like the product owners or managers, right? And then eventually it became this weird combination of like coding plus design plus like decision making together, blended on one, But that's not the case for these concepts, like at all. Like this is the same concept is just applied to AI. It
mhm,
doesn't really change. It's just the mysticism behind.
yeah. It's magic. It's agentic.
Yeah, it sounds nicer.
Cool. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Human in the Loop. I'm Matt Wozniak.
I'm Oscar Gallo, and we'll see you next episode.